So, welcome, viewers, one and all, here in the San Luis Valley and around the world. Uh, Welcome to another episode of Solutionaries, where we look at the various people and projects that are doing amazing work to bring green, sustainable, and regenerative solutions to the world, especially at this time where we're faced with so much divisiveness and we're seeing a cascading and collapse of various things happening in the ecosystem. And people are definitely in need, the awareness and to get the resources and tools to be more green and self sustainable. So I'm really happy today because, sometimes we have conversations with people in Africa. Sometimes you have conversations with people in other parts of Central and South America. But actually, today, I get to communicate with someone who is a neighbor here in Southern Colorado in the San Luis Valley. I'm in Crestone, and he's just a few miles away in Poncha Springs. So I'm really happy today to have on the show Chris White, and he is the founder and involved in the Lone Tree School, which we're going to talk about, and broadcasting live from the Yurts at Poncha Pass. So welcome, Chris.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here and explore the ideas of empowering community and sustainability.
Great. So I'm excited because, we're not just here ear tickling and talking about ideas and dreams. We're actually broadcasting with you live from one of your beautiful yurts there in Poncha Pass, which is just between Crestone, Colorado, and Salida, or in Spanish, Salida, depending on what you
Right.
prefer, which is a beautiful area just at the foot of the Sangre de Cristo, 14,000-foot snow-capped mountain peaks. But before we get into your project, tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you end up being in Poncha Pass and kind of helping to midwife this project.
Sure. So I guess my history starts in biology. I always was very fascinated with um, all things biology, the fact that uh, animals and plants have been here for millions of years, perfecting the process of living on Earth was really fascinating to me. Uh, Earned a master's degree in limnology and oceanography. Spent a lot of time in the oceans. Um, Thought it was really the most amazing place to be. If you ever want to travel to space or see another planet, really all you have to do is go about 30 feet underwater, and you'll see things that just blow your mind. So yeah, that put me into coral reef science. I was really fascinated with it. Just some of the most amazing organisms and symbiotic relationships that exist on Earth. And in that process, of course, we learn about just how much climate emissions we have, sea surface temperature rises. We really are in a climate crisis, and that was really a wake up call for me in the sense that this is largely a human drive problem. And so for me, I thought it was, if humans are the problem, they have to be the solution. And if we lived in a utopia, I think I'd still be underwater studying these interactions of corals. But I felt like it really needed to be a situation where we needed to um, take more meaningful action and engage people. So that I was sad to leave the field, but I was wanted to have a meaningful impact, and so I went into renewable energies, specifically wave energy. Um, was in Peru for about 4 years, working with a startup there. We got the first permit in Peru to test a marine energy system, and it was really exciting because we were potentially going to have this new energy source that was clean for the world. And unfortunately, the ocean just kind of ate the system, and it was a really complicated system, and that really taught me a lot about sustainability, because when we build these complicated systems on the ocean or wherever, I'm not sure it's sustainable because they require crazy resources and supply chains, and everything that we saw with COVID is that it's just quite all those things are very precarious.
Right.
So
Well, I really love what you're saying because I'm a big student and devoted to understanding the art of biomimicry,
yeah,
and just like you said, nature has an intelligence. So, in one of the programs that we do at Earthstock Foundation is regarding social permaculture. People think about sustainability or the environment, but sometimes they tend to exclude themselves from the equation. So, in biomimicry and social permaculture, as you're saying, we look at the structure, the architecture, the interrelationships of the natural world, and how they communicate and collaborate. We have this old kind of a Darwinian attitude of survival of the strongest, but
right.
really in nature we see it's survival of the most collaborative. So I want to commend you for that because first of all, a lot of people don't understand that we don't have to recreate a wheel, or we don't have to overly think about it, or introduce our human element. That if we just kind of reverse engineer and look at how these things relate, water, watersheds, ecosystems, forestry to plains to desert, all these things, there's a profound intelligence. And the second thing I just wanted to mention is I'm glad we agree upon climate change. It's a very divisive issue. Some people think human beings are contributing to it and helping to accelerate it. Others think it's a natural cycle, which I have come to find out that both is true. There are earth changes that happen, but as you're saying, we are definitely contributing to the acceleration of the cascading collapse of the environment and ecosystems. So obviously, you come from a science background, and us landlubbers are happy that you're out of the ocean here on the land,
Yeah.
doing what you're doing. And how did you end up in Poncha Springs?
Well, so once the wave energy thing didn't work, I really was kind of miffed, and I think that's part of the reason that sustainable living practices and maybe the idea of sustainability is so hard to realize is that it actually is a question of um, difficulty in realizing it. And so I thought, okay, I need to. How do we start with sustainability? And I started with my own house. So let me start with my own house, and I didn't have a house at that time. So let me start with my house, and then let me start with my community. Let me start with my town, and radially grow from the inwards outwards. And I think that's the difference of a lot of capitalism versus sustainability is that instead of a top-down approach, let's come up with this big ticket idea to solve something. It really has to come from an organic bottom-up approach. It has to come from a community, and it has to be relevant to a specific location because there are different practices in different areas. There's no silver bullet here because if you live on the ocean, that's going to be a very different living practice versus living in the mountains. What you're going to eat, what materials you're going to use to build or live with, and your living practices in general. Um, so yeah, the effort for me then became how do I find a place where I can affordably access some land that I can then work on specifically to build a demonstration eco village of sorts, and that's through serendipitous moments and times. I ended up at Poncha Pass in a tent on this land and just started building these yurts, the yurts at Poncha Pass. And then it was really a process of saying, okay, how do I build something where people are invited and welcome to participate and explore the idea of what sustainable living practices and community health look like. So I built these yurts, and they're mixed use. So it's kind of flipping the idea of housing on its head. So during the summer, we do nightly rentals, and that becomes kind of the economic engine, which allows me to offer affordable housing during the winter for young people. This area is quite unaffordable for young people to live in during the winter. A lot of young people live in their vans down by the river or on the river during the summer. There's no real problem there. But during the winter, the people that want to stay, they don't really have a place to stay because it's, uninhabitable for living in your van. So we're able to do that. And then during the spring and the fall, I offer free workshops for young adults who are looking to maybe buy a piece of land, try and build a house that's affordable. Certainly, it's just inaccessible these days. And then a lot on community resiliency. I think sustainability and sustainable living practices is one thing, but if we don't have a strong community, then none of the things matter. A structure is inert in fundamental nature. It is the people that inhabit these structures that make things either sustainable or not. So
Um, amazing, amazing. And just to add to that briefly, I just actually, after the last several meetings, I've got asked to help spearhead a sustainable crest stone. So again, exactly what you're saying. There's the front lines of community resilience, and I, not to go into my story too much. Before I moved here 4 years ago, we started a community resilience hub. Probably about 9 years ago in Nevada County, we called it the hub, and we had a dozen offices. We were doing podcasting, radio shows, media production. We also had various community events and workshops and classes. And then the Resilience Hub turned into the Resilience and Sustainability Hub, which then turned into the Regenerative Hub. So a lot of that was about taking responsibility to steward our watershed, which where I lived at that point was part of the Sacramento River watershed, which is huge from Mount Shasta and the border of Oregon all the way down to the San Francisco Bay Area. And for those who don't know what a watershed is, if you imagine every drop of rain or every flake of snow falling, wherever that washes to the river basin, or we can even say it's a bioregion, is a watershed. And we did lots of projects. We did the Sacramento River Watershed Project, talking about remediating the horrific pesticides. Like you said, every region has its unique challenges. But 4 years ago, we started doing regenerative roundtables in the area to bring together to the table the solutionaries like yourself to actually how do we implement, how do we collaborate and co-create a more regenerative ecosystem or bioregion. So I want to commend you. I'm really excited, and you're preaching the gospel. Everything you say is ringing true. And with our organization, Earthstock Foundation, we're really dedicated to helping to showcase the people that are doing the work, but also we have a myriad of consultants and curriculum people that are looking to like potentially bring their skills to a venue. But even more importantly, I love that you're not just there's hundreds. I was just in Costa Rica, and there's almost 360 eco villages. And what I really inspired me to have you on the show and to get potentially more collaborative is that you're doing an educational center. It's not just a few people living in an eco village growing their food. I mean, that's a huge part of what's happening right now, especially since the pandemic, when people have realized food security, the importance of water security, also the importance of community. And a lot of that has morphed into private membership associations and land patents and all these things. But you're doing an educational center, so I want to really commend you for this really multi faceted approach. So tell us a
yeah.
little bit about, you're actually in Yurts. You have the Lone Tree School and you have the Yurts at Poncha Pass. Why don't you start telling us a little bit about the project? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up some video in your website that we can share with our viewers.
Okay. Yeah, so it's just been a if we're trying to create impact, the real goal then is how, for me at least, is how do we actually create impact? Like you said, the world's quite divisive right now, and there's nothing that will shut someone down quicker than someone else pointing a finger at them and saying you should do this or do that. So for me, it became really important to walk the talk, to literally just try and start doing what I was trying to do. And um, I think people it's very disarming because people then see what you're doing, and instead of you telling people what they should do, they are coming to you and saying, I would love to learn how you're doing this. And that's a very different conversation. And it's really exciting because instead of arguing with one person for an hour about whether climate change exists or not, I'm teaching 10 people at a time about how can we actually take meaningful action. So again, the yurts were the initial step, and it created that mixed use situation. It's really exciting because we do these nightly rentals during the summer, and people can stay in this yurt or others, um, and they're fully regular homes. So they have kitchens, they have hot water, showers, and it's in a 450 square foot space. And I thought that was really important as well because when people come from the city and they come and sit in these stars and they see these dark nights or whatnot, we're also kind of challenging those individuals through example of I've heard a lot of guests say, well, honey, why do we have a 2,000 square foot home or a 3,000 square foot home? Like literally a yurt, this 450 square foot space has everything that we need. And then all of the actual time is spent outside, walking, hiking. I mean, you know, homes versus houses is very different. We have a lot of unsustainable housing practices, but a home literally is something that we need to get back to, I think, which is just taking care of our needs. So a good place to cook, sleep, rest, bathe, clean, and then back out into the world. And so again, these were kind of a mixed use design, and so um, for young people to come out during these workshops, um, this affordable tourism or tourism during the summer allows me to offer these workshops for free at no cost to young adults. And so now we also have a place for people to come visit where they know that their dollar is actually going towards educating young individuals and having them access affordable education. So we're starting to tap on all these things that where we're talking about all these problems in the world of education's unaffordable, housing's inaccessible, community doesn't exist, and really trying to get there. So you can see here that that's an earthship that we're working on property. We started it 2 years ago. Um, and so when people come out for the workshop, actually we're working on the earthship in the morning, and then I do a lecture series in the afternoon on various things. So one is on earthships, one is on yurts, because again, there's no silver bullet, and I'm not going to be a proponent of having let's say a narrow mind focus of saying earthships and earthships only, because perhaps if someone's in a city, it makes sense for them to also uh, not necessarily build a new home, but to look at their existing home and say, how do I make this more sustainable or more community oriented? So if I was in a cul-de-sac, for example, and say, okay, well, maybe every single house in this cul-de-sac can put a greenhouse on the south side of their house, and then they can start growing food. And then I would also focus on a strong community aspect because we have very aseptic communities in a lot of suburbia where people are going to the market for everything. You're going to the market for childcare, you're going to the market for groceries, you're going to the market for dog care. Everything that we need, we have to go to the market for. And as things become more unaffordable, inflation, all of these things, it's in community empowerment where I see that we have a lot of ability to empower each other. And when we're able to empower each other, we're able to really access the things that really matter to us, which is mostly, safe place to rest, time with friends. Um, and so it's a really interesting effort right now. You can also see here that we just got accredited with Western University. So universities are now starting to see this as a meaningful course. So students who are now coming in the spring or fall can earn one credit, a 300 level. So that can either go to undergrad or a grad program, and which further allows for access to meaningful, affordable education. And this Earthship that we're building is an example for uh, long-term residents. So right now with the yurts, we have people here for 6 months during the winter, and then we do the workshops, and then the summer visitors. And now we're working on housing that's longer term. And I think that's really going to be interesting as well because it's going to create a new dynamic of people being here kind of long term working on different things. We're certainly going to move towards animal husbandry. and move towards food production. Here, there's some, you can see grafting that we've been working on. The yurts are all solar. There's a lot of learning to be had, and I certainly don't have all of the answers. And so when I talk about these afternoon lectures during the workshops, I call them roundtable discussions. So I'll guide a lecture, but all of these individuals that show up, everyone has really interesting information to share. And so it's really exciting to allow those people to come and share. And then here, you have your the days of what we're doing each day. And towards the end of this, actually, you'll see that each of the students gives their own presentation. And so students can give their presentation on whatever it is, whether it's the love of music that they have, or whether it's something that they're personally passionate about. I think we need to create more and more spaces for people to exchange meaningful information instead of these social platforms where people just yell at each other, because that's not helping anybody to move past our differences. It's when we create meaningful spaces to exchange information that we really can start moving in positive directions. And I certainly have maybe some people might say like challenges with neighbors in the sense that we don't have the same political ideology. But what you'll find is that we don't talk about political ideology because we're more invested in trying to see how we keep the road open during the summer, and how to make meaningful progress with each other. And right now we're talking about building a collaborative farm. So it's when we put aside our differences and actually ask ourselves what meaningful work and contribution we can provide to each other, that I think you'll really find we have a lot more in common than we have apart. And when we focus on those things that we have in common, there's really no limit to what we can do. So that's really what this whole effort's about. It's a beautiful space. A lot of people during the summer, we get a lot of people from the cities, and they're just trying to retreat with a loved one. And I'm really excited that that's also something that I'm able to provide people, is just a quiet place to recover and rejuvenate and maybe spend with a loved one. I didn't really ever think about mental health as something that I was providing during the summer. And so it's so magical when you can provide people who are coming from the city a place to recover and have that mental health. And then they get to know that their dollars going towards educating some young individuals or providing affordable housing during the winter. And we're just creating this engine that's just really kind of growing in this organic and meaningful way. And it's just really exciting.
Amazing, amazing. So with the few minutes that we have left, so where are you getting your water from? Is it a well? Are you doing water collection? Are you cisterns?
Yeah. So, of course, we're in a very dry area specifically. So, specific to the Rockies and the Southwest, we're in a very dry area. So, the yurts are on a well, and we certainly have low flow and meaningful practices to try and conserve water here. The Earthship has water collection that we're installing for the roof, which will help us not only be able to live in the Earthship, but also do food production locally. And so there's, you know, efforts where we got to work with our resources and see how we can do that meaningfully within the locality. I was just in Detroit last summer, and it was really interesting because so many people, you know, talk about Detroit as, this lost city, but there's actually so much revitalization coming in there. And it really struck me just how green it was. I was looking at every yard saying, wow, you can just have a garden in your yard. And
Yeah.
what if everyone in these different neighborhoods just started planting tomatoes? It would, change a lot of things. And it's just, you know,
Absolutely. Incredible. So I think we're about getting to the end of our time together. And I'm really excited about, we're doing the Earthstock Eco Spiritual Summit August 19th through 25th. And I wanted to just reiterate, besides, pointing people in your direction to stay there, I think the potential of one of the days really being able to bring people out there for an educational part of the program, because part of what we're doing right now with Earthstock is there's so many people doing amazing things, but right now we're hyper focused on collaboration, people that want to weave together different skill sets. So as opposed to just offering infomercials, I mean, again, you can go on YouTube, you can go online. There's so many platforms and Facebook groups that it gets it's information saturation. So over the last few years of being in Crestone, we've really been discerning and vetting the
Mhm.
people and projects that we want to work with. And right now we have a footprint in 7 countries in Europe, Asia, Australia, and also Central South America, which are land-based educational centers, very much like you're doing. So, I'm getting a lot of um,
Synergies.
epiphanies about potential and stuff, but I don't want to take any time to talk about what we're doing. We really wanted to help showcase you, but I think during that week, because you know, during that time, people have the option to stay at different places like Hooper or Joyful Journey, the Eco Village, and Crestone. Uh, some of our programs will be at Colorado College, but I think it really warrants, finding one day and maybe a capacity of people that make sense to come out there and have some hands-on experience. Because, like you said, this is about hands-on education, immersive experiences. It's not about looking at a chart or a diagram
Sure.
or a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, I'm working all summer, sunrise to sunset on this Earthship. That time period will be really interesting because we'll be actually at a framing aspect, which is really where it starts to become a reality. And a walk through your tour of the yurts would certainly be a potential as well. So,
Amazing.
I
We're
agree.
gonna we're
Getting your
gonna
hands
actually
dirty.
yeah, we're gonna actually bring a friend of mine is doing tiny house building. So one of the days we're gonna offer people can go and participate and watch the whole concept of why tiny houses make sense. Like you're saying, we don't need these huge decadent homes anymore that cost a fortune to heat. But people are starting to think about, well, not only about their expenses and comfort, but also simplicity, the importance of connection with nature,
Simplicity
and
is
and
so
also
strong.
and also our impact on the environment. And we need clean soil, we need good water, we need clean air, and all these are really important, especially in such a delicate ecosystem like here in the San Luis Valley. So with the few moments we have left, any last words of wisdom? And if you could just maybe give people information of how they would find your website and get in touch with you, that would be great.
Um, yeah, I guess certainly Yurts at ponchapass.com. Um, there you can either book with us for the summer or sign up for a workshop and or learn about what we're doing here. Other than that, I think in these challenging times, if there's something we need more than anything else, it's that people uh, remain empathetic towards others, that we lead by example, that we try our best all the time. I mean, these are all very hard things to do, but it's certainly the things that make the most difference. And when we do those things and we empower each other, I think we start to solve all of these problems that are plaguing our communities and our environment. And so just keep up the faith, and all we can do is our best. So keep trying our best.
Fantastic. Well, I really appreciate your time. And I just want to kind of give a quick plug. Part of what we're doing again right now with Earthstock is, again, um, in our effort to put our various superpowers together, we're finding it's really important that, how do we have our public facing aspects of what we're doing? How do we have our interfacing? And part of what we're doing is we just launched on Earth Day is we are actually doing regenerative media TV, which is a platform that'll be carrying curriculums, but also direct connection to various consultants and contractors. So again, I don't want to get too much into that, but this will be up on Regenerative Media TV, and we're really happy to launch that. We're actually working with one of the original founders of Earth Day. So I want to thank you for your time, and let's see if we can get our closing video to play here. And I just really appreciate your time and all that you're doing here as a neighbor in Poncha Pass. So
Yeah,
thank you so much.
super excited to collaborate and see where we'll head with this one. It's so nice to
Absolutely.
meet like
Absolutely.
minds in the valley. Thank you for the time.